Welcome to Freezer Meals 101. My name's Christie and I'm going to be chopping onions today. I don't think there could be more onions. There's so many here. So chopping them all ahead of time, of course you want to do prep before you do your freezer meals, especially when you do them on the scale that we're doing. Charla and I are planning a big freezer meal session tomorrow and the next day. So today is prep day and shopping. So what I need to do is I'm going to look at my little sticky note. I need 20 onions chopped, 18 onions minced, and 4 that are sliced. That's a lot. That's 42 onions that I'm going to do. And I'll probably do all of them. I don't know how many there are there. She just brings me bags of onions and I just chop them. This is what we do. But I am going to do something new today, which is kind of exciting. I got this. It's an onion dicer. I've been using my mandolin for all of the onions that we've done before, and you can check that video out. I'm just going to put it up above here. And it is really good to use the mandolin. It makes them nice and even, and it makes it go a little faster than chopping. It also depends on your knife skills, right? And if I only had like 5 onions to chop, I would just use my knife. Super simple, right? But when you're dealing with 42 onions, sometimes I need a little bit of help. So I'm going to use whatever I can use today to make the job go by quicker, and I wanted to show you how you could do it as well. And unofficially, it's a bit of a product review because I just got this. I'm kind of excited about it. So we're going to start with, I'm just going to get the onions ready to begin with, the first 4. And then I'm going to slice them, put them in my bowl, get them in the fridge, and then we can start on the chopping and dicing and the mincing. So much. So, I suppose everybody knows the lady Rachel Ray. She's a TV personality and she's a chef. Best thing she ever taught me, it's like she said, Christy, get this. You're going to love this part. No, the best thing I learned from her, well, one of the best things I learned from her, she's a pretty smart lady when it comes to cooking, is to have a garbage bowl. And usually it's just a little Cool Whip container that all my peelings go in, and then I compost, so we put it in the compost. Today I'm going with something a little bit bigger because we're on a bigger scale. But I love the idea of a garbage bowl. Everything goes in there. I don't have to get my compost out 100 times from under the sink, and it's pretty straightforward. It makes it pretty simple. And she does like literally a garbage bowl. If she's opening up a package of, well, I just did a bunch of cheese. I did 20 cups of shredded cheese. If you want to look at that video, go ahead and click the link. But she would have put the bag and like the packaging that the cheese came in and put it right in there as well, which is fine, but that doesn't work for me because I'm composting. Don't put plastic in your compost, people. Something else I do when I do my onions like this, especially if I'm slicing them, I don't do it when I do my mandolin, but today I'm going to do it. I have a coring tool. I've had it for years. I don't use it a ton, but it works nice for tomatoes and it works nice for onions. You get that stiff core in the bottom there, and you can just pop it out. The reason I even bought it was because when I was fresh out of college, or I think I was still in college, my very first job was working at Subway, and we had to do the prep, and we had to slice all our onions, and they had this little coring tool, and I thought, wow, what a great idea. Years later, this is a Pampered Chef one, I was at a Pampered Chef party, and she comes out with this coring tool, and I'm like, I need to have one of those. This is great. What a good idea. So these we're going to slice. In many ways you can slice an onion. You can do them in rings, you can do them up and down. Depends on the dish too. Doesn't it seem like if it's a stir fry, it's up and down a little bit? So I'm actually, I don't know if you can even see on there. Oh, the tears are coming, man. I'm going to slice them like this. And slice the wedge. Now, this is how you hold a knife. I never really know what to do with this hand. I've managed to not cut myself badly any time over the years. I'm sure there's probably a better way to do it. Professional chefs, look away. standing here chopping onions for the next hour, probably. And my eyes will get used to it. Isn't that funny? When I used to wear contacts, it never bothered me. The contacts provided a barrier over my eyes that it really wasn't all that bad. But then, about 5 years ago, maybe a little longer, I got LASIK eye surgery. And it was a really great decision until it comes to chopping onions. Woo! I told this story while I was chopping cheese, or shredding cheese, but I'll tell you again, in case you haven't watched that video. The last time I did onions, they were so potent and everything in the house stunk so bad I had to wipe that down every surface, it seemed like, that there was remotely potential for onion juice to touch it. But it was in my hair, it was in my clothes. And that night when I went to go get into bed, my husband was already in bed and his eyes started watering and he's like, you have to go shower. It was so bad. So this is going pretty quickly. Mind you, there's only 4 onions to do. Oh. See, this is what I do for freezer meals. I cry for freezer meals. I have a question for the chefs out there, the professional chefs, people who do prep in a kitchen all the time, every day. Like, you might laugh at my 42 onions. Ooh. Because you're like, I do 200 onions before every Friday night shift. Like, I don't know. And you do it all with a knife, and that's great and everything. But do your eyes ever get used to it? Like I said, my eyes will stop crying. We'll get to a point where this won't be so bad anymore. And by the time I'm on to the next batch, my eyes will have become accustomed to it, and it isn't so bad. But I wondered if, if your eyes, when you're a professional chef doing prep all the time, if your eyes get used to it and that you don't cry at all. Okay, there's 4 cups of sliced onions. That was pretty slick. Excuse me a moment, I'm gonna go get a Kleenex. I had a little cry and I blew my nose and I washed my hands. I got my little knife because it does make life a little bit easier. So how do I want to do this? I'm gonna get my garbage bowl back, and then I'm actually just gonna kind of line them up here because I gotta count them. I have to do 20 chopped onions and 18 minced onions. It's a lot of onions. Over the next 2 days, we're going to use these in our freezer meals. So I think we have about 120 meals planned. It always ends up being more than that. I love Charlotte. She's my friend and everything. But when we get to the end, and she's like, oh, we have some chicken left, and we have some onions, and we have a little bit of corn and some carrots, and, well, why don't we just make a stir fry, and bam, then we're like making 4 more meals. And then she'll be like, oh, no, wait, there's some ground beef left, and there's, some taco seasoning and some extra cheese. Bam! Oh, she invented the best little Tex-Mex casserole you ever saw because we had leftover stuff. I bet you, because I brought it up, she'll put a link to the recipe in the description below. That's the magic of YouTube. Let's see. Are you not entertained? Where's that from? Gladiator? Okay. I'm supposed to do 18 minced. I did 19, partly because This one I cut off. There was a little bit of a bad spot on it. We'll use them all. So this is the little gadget I got. It's literally an onion dicer. It's by Seed Whom. And I don't think that's the one. Nope. This is the one. I'm gonna dice them using that. And then I'm gonna do the next size up for this. I'm gonna do a test. Because for the next size up, I don't know if I should, I think I'm gonna do this one because it'll be more consistent with what I was doing using the mandolin. This one looks a little bit big. So I washed this all up. I did an unboxing. I didn't video it. But it was exciting for me. And you put that in there. And then, oh, I think it's got a snap in there. Haha, it snaps into place. I already have onion juices on it. And so here's something interesting. After I was done my 4 sliced onions, I said I was going to put these in the fridge, and I have not yet. It'll be okay. I said, by the time I'm ready to start the next batch, my eyes will be used to the onions and I'll stop crying. And that is exactly what happened. It's the weirdest thing. I don't know about onion science. So from what I watched a few videos about this, I think you're just supposed to maybe cut them in half. And if that's too big, you quarter them. But I'm gonna that's half. We'll see how it goes. I'm gonna turn it sideways. Oh, that isn't on right. So, okay, I already have my first gripe about this particular one. When I was trying to do it last night, it takes a little bit of effort. There's this little lip that sticks out and is supposed to catch in here. But, man, you've got to do it just right. Okay. Is it just right? I guess we'll see. I feel like this is probably too big. I'll know in a second. Too big. It's in there. Okay, I will now quarter these. So, here's the thing. You try to use a tool to make it go faster. And then then you still have to chop it down. It's kind of like shredding cheese. You know, you wish you could just take the big block and go down inside to the food processor, but you can't. You have to chop it down into bite-sized bits, otherwise your tool doesn't work properly. Which kind of feels like it defeats the purpose. Now those are like nice little minced onions. That wasn't hard. That wasn't hard at all. It was pretty easy. And for me to go, you know, stomp. This feels flimsy. I'm not gonna lie. I don't love that. I don't feel comfortable going all the way here. Stomp. I'll get faster at this. I'm kind of being particular right now. Stomp. Kind of slams in there, doesn't it? Stomp. Okay, that's 2 onions down. It's a very even mince. It's quite tiny. It's not as small as it was when I was doing it on my mandolin. It's still pretty tiny. I don't think it's terrible. It's easy. This part isn't hard. I could stand here and quarter onions all day. Ha! 1, 2. Yeah, it's got a big snap to it. I have a cat sitting over there. She's not terribly overly fussed about it. No, nothing. She does not care. Seems to be holding up. Oh, get in there. Bam. I could fit a couple more in there. storing these in are these, I just got them at the dollar store. They have a lid. I like them because I can fit about 20 cups of something in here. I can fit 20 cups of onions or 20 cups of cheese, and they will stack nicely in my fridge, and they have lids, so my whole fridge won't smell, well, it'll smell like onion a little bit. There's no getting around that, but that's pretty good. So now I have to do the thing, maybe I'll get faster at, that was better. Maybe it was an operator problem, not a tool problem. I don't know if this is heavy duty enough. I watched a few YouTube videos of different brands, maybe. They did make it look pretty easy. They didn't have to like lean into it. Huh. I'm actually really impressed. This has improved my life. It's funny, when we're doing freezer meals, there's little things that we do that make us go faster. When we first started, we would put in like 10 and 12 hour days, 2 of them, to do all the assembly. And slowly, we improved our time by doing things like using 1 protein at a time. We would do all the ground beef. We don't even touch the chicken until day 2. See, look at me. And when I was using my mandolin, I had to be so careful because the blades, I mean, these blades are sharp, but I'm not sticking my finger in there. But, and with the mandolin, I had the little hand thing to help. So I was never in danger, but I was always really aware, right? Here, feels a little easier. Oh, I'll stick it. So it seems to be working pretty good. But I'll go back to what I was saying before. When we would do all our proteins at once, so we're both working on ground beef, we're both just slamming through those recipes, and then we go on to all the seafood, and then we go on to anything with sausage, and then we go on to chicken breasts, and then we go on to chicken thighs. And it seemed to go much faster because when we first started, we would just kind of be like, well, I'm done working with the ground beef. Maybe I'll just start with the chicken now. And I'll do a couple of chicken recipes. And then I'll go on with some seafood. And then I'll do some shrimp. And then go back to the ground beef. And it slowed us down. It really did. How many I have left? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11 left. 11 and a half. So when we switched to be doing it by protein, it really did just go faster. Bam, we would get all the ground beef done. Bam, we're done all the sausage. Not only that, then you're cleaning as you go, and we'd be able to, clean up our giant containers of ground beef, and they would be done. So it's not perfect. Nothing's perfect. It's okay. It's okay. But I'm pretty happy with it. It's doing its job. I'm gonna empty this. Look at that. Look at that. That's pretty impressive. This is going fast. This is faster than my mandolin. It's not as fine. It won't bother me. It might bother Charlotte. She's not picky, but she's particular. She wants mince to be minced. I don't blame her. That's fine. But I am making a change here. If she can stand it, I think this is a nice dice. This is a nice mince. It's okay. It could be finer, but I think it's not going to ruin a recipe. The other thing that we did when we were doing freezer meals that did make it faster, Charlotte will talk about this in other videos, but it's faster when we got the can opener, the electric can opener. It was the funniest thing. We didn't really know that would take up so much of our time opening cans, and our wrists, like some of some days we were opening 100 cans, you know, if we're doing a lot of dump recipes or stuff. And I mean, you're like, why are you putting processed food in your freezer meals? It's not like that. It's like diced tomatoes, right? But those big cans, big 28-ounce cans, and or we have the big 100-ouncers, and you know, that's so hard to do. It was hard on our wrists, and we were slow. And so when we got the electric can opener, and really the only time we use it is for freezer meals, it gets pulled out, and we've worn a few out. Like, we have literally gone through a few, which I think is hilarious. This is pretty slick. I'm happy with this purchase. Maybe you can see my review on Amazon. I just feel like, you know, we did little things along the way that just made it faster, and we did it smarter. So starting out with 12-hour days, we were bone tired when we were done. And we were so happy with our food. Like, we were so glad to have these beautiful meals in our freezer, and it was so satisfying. We were just so exhausted. And what's happening now is it's an 8-hour day, sometimes a 7-hour day, and we're busy moms. We're still going to appointments. One time I cracked my tooth the night before, and I'm like, I have an emergency dental appointment tomorrow. I don't know how long it's gonna take. You're on your own. So I like left for 2 hours, went to the dentist and came back, and we survived. But we were able to manage those things because we've gotten faster over time. And if you can find a way to do this faster, you know, we're also getting older as we're doing this. And our backs get sore and our feet get sore. I'm like, I think this is a winner. I really do. I think this is a winner. Other things, we were talking about it earlier today on the phone while we were doing our shopping, is before I met Charla, she was doing freezer meals long before I met her. And I was doing them too, ironically enough. So when we met, it was like a little marriage made in heaven of freezer meal do-itness. And what I was doing for my freezer meals that helped her a lot was I'm admin blessed, and I would use labels, like the big, you know, shipping labels, and we get 10 on a sheet. And I would put the name of the recipe, I would put some cooking instructions on it, and a date. So you knew, really, how long has this been sitting in my freezer? But what she was doing was the night before she was doing her freezer meals, part of her prep was to sit there, while probably watching Grays, sit there and go through all of her freezer meal bags with a Sharpie and write the name of the meal on it. But it didn't have the cooking instructions, and there was no date on it. Because she had to, you know, she was doing this by hand. It took a long time. So over the years, we've been doing this long enough. I actually have a nice little database of, I don't know, over 200 cooking instructions and a list of recipes that we've done that are easy for me to draw in. So she'll give me a list. I'll go sit down at the computer and I'll make 10 sheets of labels or more. This time was 11 sheets. It's probably not going to be enough. We'll still have to do some with Sharpie at the end because she'll invent some meals along the way. But what's nice about having the labels on is she's kind of the keeper of the recipes. She started Freezer Meals 101. I didn't. I'm just along for the ride. And so she has all the recipes. A lot of them are on this site. A lot of them are ones that she finds. We try new things all the time. Or ones that she invents. And so then I take those and put them into the database. So the next time I do labels, I just pull them from there. Bam, bam. I can just copy and paste. And then I print out these labels and we stick them on our meals. And they stay on in the freezer pretty good. I mean, they're just laying there flat on the freezer, on your freezer shelf. So unless you're rummaging around a lot, they do tend to stay put. And so that's just something else that we did to make our life easier. This thing makes my life easier. Like, shut up. This thing makes my life easier. I'm so glad I have this little tool. Look at me. I'm flying through these. Even though I have to, like, every few minutes stop and empty it, but holy, did you see how fast I'm going through these? Piece of cake. See, this one's good. This one's good. That is so slick. Yes. Oh, I'm so happy. What a sad life I lead. When the onion dicer makes me so happy. Oh, that's so funny. I feel like I need to like phone my mom and tell her. All right, the real question is, I have one onion left. Can I fit it in there? I think I can. I'm gonna do it. I don't want to empty it and then have to put one like measly little half onion in or something. All right, we're all agreed. You're gonna fit. Do you ever talk to your houseplants? Do you ever talk to your food? Get in there. And last piece. Oh yeah. Look it. I am done. I am done minced onions. I fit 19 minced onions in there. I'm just gonna give it a little wipe out. And that was so fast. That was so fast. I can't wait to do the chopped onions now. Okay, I'm gonna pause. We're gonna do a little tidy up. And then I'm gonna come back and do chopped onions. And you will see how fast it is. And if you haven't already ordered one of these things, you should just go and order it. Like, maybe it'd be a good time to talk about affiliate links. I don't know about that stuff because Charlotte's the brains of this operation, but you know, maybe we could put a link for this thing in the description. You know, we'd do that for you. Okay, hold tight and I'll be back in my fantastic new chopper. Oh, I'm just so happy. So the other prep I'm gonna do today that I'm not gonna film because really, it's browning ground beef. That's it, just browning ground beef. I season mine. I put salt and pepper in as I go. I drain it. And then I put it in one of these containers. Actually, I'll probably put it in a stock pot, let it cool. And then I'll put it in one of these containers because I don't want to melt it. And it'll fit nicer in my fridge for overnight. And I have to prep some, I forget the word for it, sausage. I have to brown some sausage. So I'm not going to do those on camera or anything. The other thing I'm going to do today is make a Black Forest cake for my husband. It's his birthday and that's his favorite. I don't like it because I don't like cherries. I don't like cherries. I don't like Black Forest cake. I don't like cherries in cake, I guess. And it's got maraschino cherries, and I like that, but it has cherry pie fill in it. So I'm gonna make that. I made the cake already, so now I just have to divide it and add the cherries and the brandy and the whipped cream and stuff. So I have a bit more stuff to do today, so I'm glad I was able to do that this afternoon, so that we can kind of relax a bit tonight and enjoy his birthday. So happy birthday, babe. So I did finish all of these, and my son came home from school and he said, "What do you have, Mom? I have to try it." So I made him go wash his hands, and he did 2 onions, and he did it, and he's 11, and it was pretty easy. He did a great job. So now he's watching TV someplace else. So I can finish these, and really, it won't take me very long because, well, it's kind of like everything else. The prep is the hardest part, right? If you're going to paint a room, there's lots of things you have to do before you're actually ready to paint. You have to wash your walls. Well, sometimes. You have to wash your walls. You have to patch your holes, and sometimes that takes a while, and you have to sand things. Sometimes you have to remove trim, and then the real work starts. You start by cutting in your trim so that you can paint that wall and have nice clean edges. All of the prep, or even and applying painter's tape around some tricky spots, all of that prep work ensures that the actual doing of the painting goes smoothly. Well, the same is true for freezer meals. Doing all the prep work where I'm peeling all the onions, I'm quartering, I took all the cores out. It's a lot of work, but then when the time comes, bam, I am slamming through these onions like nobody's business. And then you add that with the cheese, and you add that with the peppers that you have to dice, and you add that with the carrots you have to slice, and the beef you have to brown. And all those prep things are so important. So when we get there tomorrow, we'd always do it at Charlotte's house. When we get there, we're ready to go. All of our prep is done. Nothing makes you feel more behind than going to start these 2 days of freezer meals, and I've done it before where something has happened and I haven't been able to do my onions. I get up at 6 in the morning and I'm prepping onions before I'm even standing there on my feet all day, putting our meals together for assembly. So it's really important to get your prep done. So what do we do with all these onions? How do you decide how much is an onion? What if a recipe calls for a cup of chopped onions and a recipe calls for half an onion chopped? What do you do, right? How it works out though is, on average, with the onions that we have here, about 1 cup is about 1 onion. And that way it's consistent, and because some of these onions were kind of little peanuts and they didn't take much to put them through this little nifty machine. But then look we got some big honkin' ones that would be 1.5 times the size, so it all kind of averages out. So that's 3/4 cup or 1 cup. And so I actually take my measuring cups over to Charlotte's house when we do our freezer meals, and that 1 cup measure cup just stays in the onions all day. And so whenever we need an onion or half an onion, we just kind of throw it in there and we're good to go. Now this is filling up pretty fast. It's a heavier dice. This is interesting. I don't know. We'll have to see what the boss says. I'm pleased with it. They're uniform. It's going quickly. I think in general it's pretty good. Yeah, I am so glad that I went down the path of trying to find a new onion dicer. It's always a better way to do that, right? It's always a better way. I have tried to use my food processor for it, but I find that it's like you're trying to get chopped onions and they're not evenly chopped. You get these huge chunks with these little bits, so you give it 2 more pulses and bam, they're all minced, or bam, it's liquefied. I feel like I just didn't have a lot of control. It was fast, but I still had to do this. Like I still had to quarter the onions to kind of get them in there and doing what I needed them to do. So I didn't find it a benefit. I know people who make salsa, and that's what they say. They're like, oh yeah, I use my food processor and the onions are done, like bam, they're done. And maybe it works for you. And if you like it and you don't mind if they're a little bit uneven, or that's fine, but this works for me and I'm pretty happy with it. This turned into a said whom onion dicer, food dicer review, and that was unintentional, but now we have 2 different videos, don't we? We have a video of me using the mandolin. I think Charlotte can put the link up there somewhere. And now me doing this. There was one time when I only had 10 onions to chop, and I did do it by hand, and they were nice and big and chunky, and they were just so pretty looking. But I only ever did that once. I think this is the most minced onions we've ever done for a freezer meal session. This is 20 chopped onions, 18 minced onions, and then 4 onions that are sliced. I think the most I've maybe ever done for minced onions before was about 14. So we are doing some new recipes this time. We always do some new recipes, and that way, you know, we can add them to my giant list of labels I was telling you about. And I think it would be clearly whatever we're doing asks for more minced onions. So I need 18 cups of minced onions. I did 19 just to kind of give us a cushion. And here, I think I ended up with 22, and that's what I'm saying. I don't know if I'm going to fit them in my container. We'll see. I may have to go get a different bowl and just to put those last 4 onions in. Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. We'll eat them all, and they're going to be delicious. Just make sure you hit like and you hit subscribe so that we can see each other again sometime. Oh, I doubled it. It's too much. You really got to cut it down to that quarter onion to not be too much to go in there. This has gone so fast. This is so slick. You know, start to finish, mind you, due to the magic of editing, we sped this up for you because you had to stand there and watch me chop every onion in real time. And I had to pause it when my son came home and I let him chop a few. And, you know, I went to the garage or the fridge for a few things. So there's a little bit of missed time that you guys don't see. All in all, I think this took me about an hour. About 1 hour to chop 20 onions, mince 18 onions, and slice 4 onions. Isn't that crazy? I think it's a little bit crazy. I'm pretty impressed with that. So I do have to do a little bit of cleanup, because I'm just going to show you what all I did in an hour. Here's my chopped onions, here's my minced onions, here's my sliced onions, and before this video, I did another quick video. I had a different apron on, super cute. I shredded cheese, and there's a secret ingredient in the cheese, which you don't know about unless you watch the cheese video. So click the link and watch the cheese video. And really, it was so fast. I did the cheese in the food processor with the grater tool. But with these onions, I did this little gadget, and I am so pleased with it. And I think it was really great, and I'll be using it again. So hit subscribe, hit like, and we will see you next time. Thanks again. This is Christie from Freezer Meals 101.